Your mind is not in control. Like, we've all been led to believe that the mind's in control, but that is not true. And what is in control and has been controlling your life is your body. You see, the body is the unconscious mind. And I learned this from reading Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And so he talks about how, the body's in control, not the mind. The mind is originally in control, but the mind conditions the body, and then the body takes over. And I'll share an example of this with you that most people should be able to relate to. Have you ever driven your car and you get to the destination and you're like, how did I get to the destination? I don't remember the drive, because you were driving on autopilot. Your mind may have gone away with the fairies and tuned out. It was the body that got you to the destination. It was the body that was driving the car. That's why you can tune out while you're driving and still get to your destination. So how crazy is that, right? That the body is in control. Another example that might be relatable is, you're just pottering around your house, doing things, and you think, oh, I want to make a cup of coffee. And then you go and flick the jug on, and then you go off pottering around while the jug's heating up. But then as you're pottering around, you're like, wait, did I flick the jug on? I don't remember. And then you go and check, and you're like, oh, I did. It's because the body went and did it. The mind was on, because you're on autopilot, the mind's not always there. So the body's gone flicking the jug on, you're carrying on, and you don't remember if you actually did it or not. The body's in control. The body's running on autopilot. And so what Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about is how the body memorizes emotions. And so a lot of us are walking around with bodies that have memorized negative emotions. Emotions like lack, fear, unworthiness, insecurity, anger, shame, guilt. The list goes on. And so you can have a body that has memorized multiple negative emotions, and that is your emotional programming. So your body's basically running off this program, which is a subconscious program. And so the way you think, the way you feel, the way you act are all unconscious programs that make up your state of being, and your state of being is what creates your reality and all your experiences. So if you have a body that has memorized negative emotions, you're going to have this negative state of being that's going to create negativity in your reality. And so this is why he talks about the importance of you basically need to unmemorize these emotions in the body and then memorize positive emotions instead. So you're basically shifting or changing your programming from being negative to positive. And the way the mind conditions the body, because the mind is originally in control, it's like, if you have a thought that could be something's happened in life where it's made you think that you're unworthy, like a situation's happened and you're thinking like, I'm unworthy, and you're having all these thoughts, and then you start feeling the way you think. So you start having the feelings and emotions of being unworthy. And then because you're having these feelings and emotions of being unworthy, those feelings and emotions generate more thoughts of being unworthy. So you start feeling the way you think, you then think the way you feel. You're in this cycle of going round and round and round, and it's conditioning the body. And I was like, this is crazy, because it's the same as if you've had an argument with someone, and then you leave and you're stewing on this argument. You're thinking about it, which is causing the emotions, which is causing more thoughts. You're stewing on it, and then you're conditioning your body to memorize these negative emotions. And I was like, this is a game changer. This is why he says you don't want to be working with your head, or with the mind. Like, for example, we have mental health issues. We go and deal with our minds, or we go see a psychologist who works with our minds, not realizing that it's actually the body that's in control. And what Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about as well is the positive thinking. Like, when people tell you to have positive thoughts, to have positive thinking, the positive thinking doesn't override the program in the body. So we don't want to be working with our minds. We're not going to get anywhere. We've got to put the focus on the body. And we've got to learn to unmemorize these negative emotions. Now, he talks about how we have the three brains. And I'm going to use the car example for this because most people, will understand, because most people drive a car. But if you don't drive a car, you can relate this to anything in your life. So we have the three brains, the neocortex, which is the thinking brain, the limbic brain, which is also the emotional brain, and this is the doing brain, and the cerebellum, which is the being brain. So the neocortex, this is my brain drawings. I'm not the best drawer when it comes to the brain, but you get the idea. So the neocortex is the squiggly walnut looking part of the brain. So that's your thinking brain. Let's say we chop the brain in half, and in the center we have the limbic brain, which is the emotional brain, the doing brain. Then at the back, the dark piece that's at the back here is the cerebellum, which is your subconscious mind, and that's the being brain. So when you first learn to drive a car, you're using the thinking brain because you're learning how to operate the vehicle, you're learning all the road rules, and then once you've learned how to do it, you start doing. You start getting out on the road and you're driving around, but you're still driving very cautiously because you're still new to the road. Like, do you remember that feeling when you first were driving on the road? I remember being super cautious and you're like, oh yeah, driving like a little nana. And then through practice and repetition of doing, that's when it becomes second nature. It becomes a subconscious program and it ends up in the cerebellum and it just becomes a natural state of being. This is when you're able to drive around and text, not that you should, or you could drive around changing the music, you could be eating food or having a drink or doing other things. It's because it's become second nature. The body's taken over. This is why when you're driving and you get to your destination and you don't remember because you're driving on autopilot, the body's taken over. It's become second nature. So what he talks about is using meditation and what he calls mental rehearsal, which is the same as visualization, to change the subconscious programming. And so with meditation and mental rehearsal, he says you can use the thinking brain and go straight to the being and skip the doing. And so what you do is, like, as you go into a meditative state, your brain waves drop and you drop from beta to alpha to theta. When you're in that theta brainwave, you've broken through the analytical mind, the ego chatter brain shuts up, and you're in your subconscious mind. So this is how you can change your subconscious programming and change that emotional programming that's in the body. And so what he gets you to do is gets you into that meditative state, into theta brainwave, and then you start using the neocortex, the thinking brain, to start visualizing or mentally rehearsing a scenario in your mind. And as you mentally rehearse the scenario in your mind, you make a new synaptic connection in the brain. So you can literally use meditation to rewire your brain. This is the practice that he gets people to do. And as you visualize or mentally rehearse a scenario in your mind, it gets, like, you've got to get emotionally involved. You've got to feel the emotions of this visualization as if it's happening right now, like it's actually happening. You feel the emotions. And this is how you can recreate your reality and your life. He also gets you to go into this meditative state using the thinking brain to become aware of your subconscious programming, the way you think, feel, and act. What are your thought patterns, emotional patterns, and your behavioral patterns? So while you're in that meditative state, he's training you to become aware of these things because, like I say, we go on autopilot, so it's very easy to slip back into the old programming, into those memorized emotions. So he's training you in meditation to observe the self, because meditation in the Tibetan language means to become familiar with. So he gets you to become familiar with your programming, so that when you're going throughout the day, because it's very easy just to go onto autopilot, he's getting you to catch yourself out, to pull yourself out of those autopilot programs. And then he also gets you to, like, that's one part of the meditation where he's sort of getting you to observe the self. The next part of the meditation, he also gets you to recreate the new version. How does the new person or the new version of you think, feel, and act? What sort of thoughts do you have? What sort of emotions do you feel in the body? So by getting you to become aware of how you think, feel, and act, He's basically training you to start unwiring your brains, to start weakening these synaptic connections in the brain. And then when you start focusing on the new version, how does this version of you think, feel, and act? What thoughts do you have? What emotions? What types of actions and behaviors? He's getting you to rewire the brain in a different way. So whenever you think differently or visualize a new scenario or use your neocortex in a different type of way, you make a new synaptic connection. And then through practice and repetition, like when you're driving around the car, through practice and repetition, those synaptic connections hardwire, and that's when it becomes second nature. So he gets you to unwire the old self, rewire the new self, and then when you hardwire the new self by repeating, using the neocortex, repeating this every day in the mind, you will then rewire the new self in, and then it ends up becoming a subconscious program. So then that becomes the new programming, the new autopilot. And another thing he gets you to do while you're in meditation using this thinking brain is he gets you, this is really important, he gets you to start reconditioning the body with the positive emotions. So you start thinking about, how does the new version feel? I feel like the universe is in favor of me. I feel like all my needs are being met. I feel wealthy. I feel successful. I feel happy. And he gets you to start conditioning the body to feel these emotions. So like I said earlier, how when you have an argument with someone and you're stewing on it, and then you've got the emotions and you're thinking and feeling and you're conditioning the body because you're stewing on it, what he gets you to do is to start seeing yourself as a positive, happy person, and also feeling it in the body, feeling these new emotions in the body. And that's how you're reconditioning the body through practice and repetition. Like when you're driving the car, practice and repetition, eventually it becomes second nature to the body to memorize these positive emotions. So as you go into this meditative state, you feel worthiness in the body, you feel wealthy in the body, you feel happiness, gratitude, and then doing it every day, committing to it, eventually, it's your new programming. Your body's now memorized the positive emotions. So this is the most powerful work you could do for yourself. And if you want to do this work for yourself, go and buy Dr. Joe Dispenza's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. He has the 4-week meditation process that he teaches you at the end of the book that you can start applying to start memorizing the negative emotions, unwiring the old self, and then rewiring a new version of you and memorizing positive emotions instead. And then when it gets into the cerebellum, when it's in your subconscious mind and it's a new automatic program, that is when reality starts shifting to mirror it. If you're new to meditation and you don't know where to start, I'm going to link a video at the end of this one that is Meditation, the Ultimate Guide for Beginners, that will teach you the basics of meditating and how to get started. So I highly recommend watching that video at the end of this one. Hope you like this video, guys, and you got some sort of value out of it. If you did, let me know by smashing the like button or write a comment. If you like this sort of content, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification. I hope you have an awesome day. Peace.